Coming up today on Locked On Texas Tech, Joey Maguire's message for me and you and any Red Raider you know.
You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. And thanks as always for making us your first listen. Today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. With the only Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan. Chris, great to be back with you. And on today's episode, we'll do a little bit of looking ahead as we have a kick time now revealed for the ball game coming up on the other side of this weekend. Tempe, Arizona, the destination. Chris Level's own personal Magic Kingdom. We'll circle back to that coming up in just a moment, but we're focused on the task at hand. There is no looking ahead as we're getting ready for homecoming week and the Kansas Jayhawks to come to town. Chris, obviously this is an all due respect podcast, and we've got a boatload of respect for these boys coming from Lawrence. Make no mistake of that. Chris, today I want to dive into a couple of things now that we've heard from Red Raider head coach Joey Maguire, defensive coordinator Sheil Wood, offensive coordinator Mac Leftwich. We'll get to something on the defensive front in particular, because I think this is one of the most key storylines, is how this Tech defense will handle something that's different than what they've seen so far this year when it comes to how that Kansas offense will try to attack. So we'll hear from Coach Maguire and Coach Wood on that in just a moment, and want to begin our conversation with a thought from Coach Maguire. And thought would be the wrong word to use. Direct message from Coach Maguire, amped up whenever it comes to not only the stakes but the scene that's going to be there at Jones AT&T Stadium. And Coach Maguire came out of the gates this week, Chris, talking straight to Red Raider fans near and far when it comes to the role that they have to play this Saturday. Take a listen.
I'm excited to be back home. It seems like forever since we've been at Jones AT&T, and so I'm excited. You know, I was sitting here thinking about coming to the press conference, and you know, I've had so many questions about like Will Hammond and his role, and our running backs and their role, and our two kickers and their role. And I think it's important to understand that we've got to sell out. It's a night game. I love our creative team and what they're doing, but there is a huge role that's going to take place in the stands this Saturday. This game is huge. I think the role of our fans, Red Raider Nation, I really need you guys to, one, understand that it's not about throwing tortillas. Like, let's get it out of the way right off the bat, and then let's focus on when that defense, which is the best defense in the country, when that defense takes the field, stand up, get loud. My guys are going to be helping. You know, they're going to be waving their arms when they take the field, but – you know, I go back to the Utah game, and I've never experienced a louder crowd when the defense takes the field. And I know we have a better fan base. I know that we have a more passionate fan base. I know everybody in this room knows we have a more passionate fan base. I think Utah found out how passionate our fan base was. I know Houston for sure found out how passionate our fan base is. And so I think it's really important. My role is to make sure I have this team ready to play in the biggest game that I've coached in since I've been at Texas Tech, because there's so many things that we can build off of and continue to push. And so I just need everybody's help to really focus on that. It's not about the tortillas this week. It's not about, you know, us being defiant of the there is a rule in place, and I'm already having issues with our team. It's my fault, but we're the most penalized team in the Big 12, and that's on me and our coaching staff and our players. We don't need anything to add to it. So if you're going to focus on something, really talking to our students and you know, everybody that shows up every single week, let's focus on when the best defense in the country steps on the field, they are going to play like their hair's on fire, that we get up on our feet and we get extremely loud.
I feel like you got called out. I feel like Section 102 guy got called out. I feel like Section 211 guy got called out. I feel like club level guy got called out. Maybe the sidelines guy, the idiot down there holding the microphone. I think he got called out.
The G-Boring jacket guy called out.
Yeah, I feel like I'm being pointed at. Yeah, like I mean, we clearly not playing the role that we need to be playing. No, I told you this off the when we were just talking after the Utah game that Texas Tech typically sends something or sends someone, I should say, to every away game from the marketing team, or whatever, whether it's Robert Giovanetti or Ryan Deedy or some of these other folks that are kind of in charge of your home game day presentation. And there's not been many times where I think that they probably come away from an opposing venue going, okay, they're doing this better than we are, okay, or whatever. And I don't think that in either of your two road games that they really came away saying that. But the head coach was very mindful of how intelligent or how this was a thing in Utah. And I felt it, and I know I'm probably going to lack some street cred for giving Utah any credit because they certainly don't want to give Texas Tech any credit, and they certainly although, you know what? I'll give Utah credit too because they made Thump a thing. We've got that. We've got that thing going.
We'll always have that, Utah.
Thumped them, yeah. That's a thing. Thanks to some anonymous, faceless Twitter accounts that wanted to clip
the Streisand effect.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And they. Whenever their defense would come out onto the field, there was it wasn't because their scoreboard is not very big. There wasn't this, but it was just like this roar that kind of started to kind of come about, and it was educated. It was a thing. It was meaningful. I think it affected you. If you're Texas Tech, we know the false start penalties and things like that. And then when the offense was out there, it wasn't like golf clap or anything, but it was like, shh, 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 shh. Like it wasn't like that per se, but it was opposite ends of the spectrum on how Utah was rolling that way. And then they even had a false start counter where they like, oh, there's one false start. Oh, there's two. And it was over there on the student section. And I think that was impressive to Joey because it worked. I think he is basically saying, I'm calling y'all's ass out. I need your help. You're not playing your role, or maybe I need a new role for you to play, whatever. But I wasn't sure when he started the press conference yesterday exactly where we were going with that. But because it has been a month since you played at home. I feel like this Utah game, I said this to you the other day, it's like been 3 years ago. It's like, man, was that like in 23 when we played in Salt Lake City? But it was just 2 or 3 weeks ago. It's been a lot of gap in between your home games here. But he clearly remembered it, has made a note, and is imploring this sold-out crowd to do their part on Saturday night.
I think the natives will rekindle the flame and learn how to party and get lathered up again. We've had a couple of dress rehearsals, it seemed like, over some recent years when it's like, we're going to flirt with being interesting as a program. But other than that, it's been about a decade and a half worth of a home field drought. But once upon a time, the flames were rising high, and we can get back to that state of lathering, I do believe, particularly with the football team getting back to resembling something interesting. And that was kind of something we touched on a little bit, Chris, on a previous episode, just how we've had some of these games where you get a big buildup. Maybe Patrick Mahomes is involved or not, but either way, it's a sellout nighttime kind of atmosphere. And then competitively, you're coming up short. This is the part of the script that you really want to be different this time around. A couple of other bullet points that stand out to me, however. Biggest game that he's coached since he's been at Texas Tech. That's what he said. I would start there. Think that's pretty interesting in his own words and in his own perspective, how he's viewing this, Chris. After all, it is early October against 4-2 Kansas. I know there is some marketing in that comment, but viewing Joey Maguire in the way that he speaks as I do, I take him mostly just sincerely in that comment. that he's viewing the stakes to be that high?
Yeah, when I first hear him say that, because you get a lot of, we have the best of this in the country, this is the biggest thing, or there's a lot of, I don't want to know if the right word is like embellishment, because the people in these roles across the country, they have to believe these things, right? I work with the best staff in the country. Yeah, I work with the best staff in the country. These are the best fans in the country.
Right.
We play in the best stadium in the country. Whatever. We're playing the best league in the country. On and on it goes. But when he said this, because I'm used to saying, I mean, I office in the best thing, and this, I've got the best this, and then whatever. I was just like, okay, but you know what? I think it's right. Like upon just thinking about it a bit deeper, I think he's dead on. And it's crazy. It's not the biggest game for Kansas. It's not, all is not lost if you lose it. So we could argue that Colorado last year was bigger. But here's where I think he's coming from, because I think he's dead on. And I do think he does work in the best football building in the country. Okay. I do think that's right. And I do think he may have one of the best defensive coordinators in the country and one of these bright, young, shining stars at offensive coordinator and all that stuff. And he may have the best defense in the country, but that's not what we're talking about. This is just crazy that we're going to talk about things like this, but this is where we're at.
First, today's episode brought to you by PrizePicks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. We all make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right means cashing in. And with football back, PrizePicks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes, all in less than 60 seconds. You're going to love how easy and simple it is to use. And of course, PrizePicks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. Download the PrizePicks app today and use our code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. With PrizePicks, run your game.
He's coming at it from a standpoint of we are on the way up. We are trying to prove everything. We're in a conference race. We have a primetime night kick with a team that's 2-1 in the league. They're 4-2 overall. They could have been better than that. And their 4-2 record, they barely lost the one game against what we think is a pretty good Cincinnati team. But he's coming at it from, this is a big game for this program nationally. Yes, it's a league race thing. This just happens to be who's here, and it wouldn't have really mattered who was here. It's not about Kansas. It's about that you've gone on the road twice and you come back home, and they've deemed it primetime on Fox national television, kick and 6:30 and all this stuff. And because you're kind of in this now conversation of where people are going to start to look at you and go, are they, is this at-large berth worthy? Sorry, that was tricky to say. Like how are you viewed nationally? Where does this affect the top 10 rankings? Could they move up? I mean, there's a lot of bigger picture stuff going on here, to which really a lot of that doesn't matter, but it all goes away with a loss. And so Joey is going to be able to say this is the biggest game as you go each week. And I don't know if he said it, before the Houston game, because you kind of have to earn the right to be able to say it. And now that you're 5-0 and you're in the top 10, you've kind of earned the right to be able to say it. Because I would say if you beat Kansas, there's no doubt that the Arizona State game is the biggest one that you've coached in. Not even close. Regardless if they beat Utah or not. You want the tiebreaker over those guys. But you got to win the Kansas game to earn that right. to be able to say that and to be able to play in that one and have that be as much meaning. So I think he's right.
I like the explanation. I'm going to agree with that. Some of it of an intangible kind of nature, some of it not. But I do think he's right. I also thought, Chris, a couple of things he said that followed right with that and piquing my interest. Best defense in the nation. And Chris, it's not about tortillas. It's a little bit about tortillas. I just want to slide in 0.25% about tortillas. But back to the best defense in the nation. I know you're in rare air, and I know that as a head coach, you would probably be the biggest believer of anybody in what you got going on. You're there every day, but that still is just, I got to admit, a little jarring to hear.
It is absolutely one of the best defenses in the country to this point in the season. I think like scoring defense and total defense, all the different things, you're in the top 10. You know what's funny? You know who was supposed to have the best defense in the country preseason? I think it was the folks in Austin, and they've been nothing close to that. We remember all the draft picks and all the talk there, and they just haven't. I mean, I think
something was awry in the research. Is that what you're saying that was done? I guess
I'm just saying. I knew you were supposed to be good on defense. Sometimes it just doesn't always work out like you hope or think. But you have been maybe even, should I say, a bit better than everybody would have thought. Calvin, we were talking about can you just be a top 40 defense, like ranking wise? Like you were in the 120s last time you played ball. When the calendar was 2024. So we're just like, man, could you just be a top 50, top 40, maybe top 40? I mean, we did a show that back in, I want to say like it was July, and it was all the playoff teams from last year.
Yep.
For the most part, they were all like top 40 offense and top 40 defense. And so that was and there was a few. Clemson was a bit of an outlier, but that was pretty much it. Like if you check that box right now, man, you're top 10 in both. Kind
of again.
but you were on offense last year as well, and yet the defense was so far off. No turnovers created, no pressure on the quarterback. Teams were throwing it all over the lot. You had no answer. Chunk plays. Because when I saw the play at the end of the half versus Houston, you're like, what happened? What's broken? Like, how did this, like, what is there's an imposter on the field? Who is this guy in the other colored jersey running for a long ways? Because this hasn't really happened to you yet this year. Not with your dudes out there. But Brendan Jordan, you were in man. He fell down. If he doesn't fall down, maybe it's a big catch, but it's maybe you get him down and it's not a score and you regroup and all that. But so that's what's crazy is that you I don't know if it is the best one, but it's statistically and otherwise. I mean, you're hooping.
Yep. I'm looking again. I just want to make sure bullet point number 3. It is a little bit about tortillas. Did I already say that one?
You did. Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure it is a little bit about tortillas. I want to get that one in. The other one, Chris, before we move on to the type of challenge this defense has on its hands from the mouth of Joey Maguire and Sherwood in just a moment. I am thinking about what he said about the laundry. He said, hey, my guys are the most penalized team in the Big 12 right now. We don't need any more laundry on the field. And we touched on this a little bit yesterday and talked about circling back to it. And I'm just thinking still at this point in time, Chris, as the margin for error really tightens up. This is one of the hateful 8 we got coming to town. They're salty. We've got a former full-time Pac-12 defector, former Big 12 champ on the other side of that. It's sitting a Mountain West defector, Conference USA defector, whatever we're talking about, with all due respect to the previous 2 weeks. But, Chris, these penalty numbers, I mean, still concerning. So I really don't know, and that's why I'm in this seat, not Coach McGuire's. how in the midst of this far into the season, you try to really dramatically change it. We know it can be done. It has been done. I don't know if it will, but it's still out there.
Well, yeah, and I even think, which I hate this. I hate hearing this. I don't know to what extent, but I think that they're going to change some things to try to reduce penalties. And I got to tell you, when I first heard it, I don't like it.
First, today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly feel the call of the stadium. That's exactly where Gametime comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. And with the money you save on tickets, you can then splurge on foods, drinks, gear, and more. Gametime makes it all possible. And best of all, Gametime makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get the first pitch, and they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. And if you're like me, you get tired of endless scrolling trying to find the best deal, and that's why Gametime's Zone Deals is the go-to move, since it automatically picks the best seats in your section for you at the best price. And as always, you can get a view from your seat right there in the app, so before you buy, you know exactly what you're going to see. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use our code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, LOCKEDONCollege, for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last-minute tickets at the lowest price, guaranteed. Today's episode brought to you by Square. Your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that truly make the neighborhood feel like home, whether it's the local sports bar, the coffee shop, or the corner store that's been serving your neighborhood for decades. These are the kind of places that bring people together. And when neighborhood businesses thrive, the whole neighborhood thrives. Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world, including some local favorites in the 806 like Shadow Hills Golf Course, The Outdoor Chef, Quarter Ford, Lubbock Welding Supply, Sugar Bakers, and a whole lot more. You can go to square.com/go/lockedoncollege to learn more today. But before you do, go support your favorite local spot. Powered by Square. See you in the neighborhood.
I think that they're going to change some things to try to reduce penalties. And I got to tell you, when I first heard it, I don't like it.
I'm frightened. I'm frightened by that build-up.
Yeah, I don't like it. And maybe it'll work, whatever. I think you should be good enough to be able to continue to do these things and expect your guys to. But again, I think you're trying to. So what offensively and red zone wise, I think you may simplify. I think you may not switch out personnel groups. You may eliminate motion. You may eliminate a lot of the eye candy or bells and whistles and just say, let's just line up and go. Let's just line up and try to, keep it simple. And so we eliminate, we got to hold our stance for the motion to get across the field, or we're not going to, hey, you guys come off, you guys go in, and it's kind of out of the norm, and it's a specialty situation. And they're basically, I don't know to what extent, again, but it's kind of like, yeah, let's not do all of that stuff. Let's just line up and go and see if that works, and then we'll eliminate the penalties. I'd like to think that you can be good enough for everybody to handle all of those things, motions and whatever. So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I think, but I get that's because that's what Joey said. He's like, man, I just think that let's eliminate a lot of the issues that maybe are causing us to shoot ourselves in the foot and holding our stance for much longer. Pulling in 3 or 4 guys off and going big or whatever. But I don't know. Are you good enough just to line up against an Arizona State or a BYU or maybe you are. And if you are, then you know what? Eliminate all the other stuff. I just hate that if you can't get into some, because at some point you need some sort of gadget or schematic advantage or bigger people on the field, based on down and distance. So anyway, I don't know if I'm making sense what I said, but
you're making 1,000% sense. And that's a lot of sense.
Yeah. But I just, I was like, okay, But that must mean that they think that this is we're doing more harm than good here. And if that's the case, then simplify. And simplify and just smash people in the mouth if you think you can do that and get after it. I think that's kind of what you're. And catch the football.
I like that as well. I do want to circle back a little bit more in full to what we are hoping to see offensively. Definitely going to have to revisit that. Curious to see if there is some simplification that could help them out, but I don't know pre-snap or otherwise how that does impact the hand status. So yeah, let's table that for just a moment and definitely get back to it this week. Before we get out of here, though, I do want to take a listen again to Coach Maguire as well as the defensive coordinator, Shill Wood, talking about the plan of attack as they see it for Kansas coming up this week. Chris, sounds like it is a big film room kind of week for all involved as we get ready for this one. Here again is Coach Maguire.
They really attack your rules defensively, and they attack your eyes. There's so many times half rolls, tight ends sneaking under linebackers, and then they end up in that void. They create a lot of big plays with that. And then they've got a couple of good running backs that run really physical. So we've got our work cut out for us. I mean, this is I told the players yesterday after our practice, I was like, defensively, you can't watch enough film this week because they're motioning. That's another reason I think it's really important that our crowd focus when our defense takes the field, how loud we can be, because there's probably not many teams that move and shift more than they do. And that means when that happens, their offensive line's in their stance longer. And so we really can create some problems with how loud we are.
I think they're a really good group. I'm very impressed with them. I think they are assignment sound. I think they're tough and physical in the run game. They do a great job in pass protection, and their quarterback helps them in that regard as well in terms of being able to evade the rush. So I think they're a very good unit. Daniels is an outstanding quarterback. He can make all the throws, and then his legs are a tremendous asset to him. Doesn't seem like they're trying to run him as much in these early ball games as Utah with Dampier, but he's got the ability to make you pay with his legs, whether that's a quarterback draw or a zone read scheme or some kind of design quarterback run with pullers. So he really is a dual threat guy, and he'll make us have to work this week. And we just got to do a great job from a communication standpoint. The best defenses do a great job communicating before the ball snap and after the ball snap. I think our guys have done a really good job of that thus far. They'll present a little bit bigger challenge from that standpoint, just having to, adjust in and out of some different checks that you might get into. But I think our guys will be up for the challenge and excited to face that this week during practice.
Definitely sounds like something unique to what they've seen so far this season, and maybe unique for the season overall, I guess.
Yeah, and I want to talk in one of the other episodes as we get going this week. I want to talk more about Daniels, but let's look at internally first. This is a different kind of challenge from Coach Wood and Coach Maguire to these guys on defense. I think basically he's saying, and they are saying, this is one of these where you need to learn a lot this week. Let's find out how you hear about the man. He's a pro. He acts like a pro. This is part of that. And they're doubling down on that this week because Andy Kotelnicki used to be the OC at Kansas a couple years ago. He's now at Penn State. And, this is going to be so that this is kind of where they've gotten a lot of this. This is similar to what Iowa State does. There was some of the Utah kind of thing here, but this is a lot of eye candy. This is a lot of smoke and mirrors. It's a lot of basic plays run out of every different kind of formation and moving guys over and shifts and motions and all that stuff. And it's basically just trying to distract you, or get somebody confused. They move them over here to over here, and it's like, oh, well, I thought you had that gap. No, when they were over here. I mean, that's all it's doing. And so you're really trying to test the intelligence of the defense and then catch them slipping. And So that's why, this is all stuff that'll be worked on all this week. I think that you've got very intelligent linebackers that it really falls on them and the safeties as much as anything. And that's a test that I'd be willing to think that you can pass with flying colors. But the Daniels component is there's a wild card here, and we'll get into that later on in the week. But I do like that each week it poses a different challenge or series of challenges. I really think the challenge this week, I'll go A, B, and C. I think Joey's like legitimately challenging this fan base, to answer the bell. Like, man, I've been where it happened, and I know this crowd's been great, and we love them. But I'm being specific on when I want you to have fun and yell and do it under the lights and all the things. I think that he is challenging his defense to be very well studied this week. I mean, and this is intentional, like when you say. And then I think the challenge will be really program wide. This involves Barron. This involves Coach Maguire. This involves everybody. Don't get so juiced up that you continue to shoot yourself in the foot, and you need to take advantage of a home environment and continue to, rise up, because it is, as you mentioned, you've climbed up that hill so many times, and then you fall back all the way down, right. and then it takes a while to climb back up again. This is kind of one of those, like, keep climbing, man. Don't give anything back. So that's the challenges, like an A, B, and C as I see it.
Yeah, and I like, as you said a little bit earlier in our conversation, set up next week to then be the biggest game of the Joey Maguire era via a win here this Saturday, and you just keep probably exponentially kind of growing as far as that hype train, or whatever way you want to describe it, is concerned, which is a fun one to ride so far. And Chris, we do know a little bit more about next week. Was curious to get a thought from you before we wrap it up on a 3:00 announced kick time in Tempe, Arizona. It ain't quite breakfast in Salt Lake City, but given the vibes in Tempe, I bet there's plenty of Sun Devils rolling out of bed around 3:00. So I don't know, man. Better than under the lights, I suppose. What'd you think?
Well, yeah, and that's 3:00 Central Time. That's actually 1:00 Tempe time. So I think you catch a massive break. I really do. I think you catch a massive break. That this is mid to early part of the day. I think it could be a bit warmer then. We'll see because even in October, it's hot in the desert. They weren't gonna. I don't think they were gonna stash this game like at 9:00 at night or anything like that. There could be potentially too much on the line here, especially with you being ranked in the top 10. And as they make these selections, you're favored by double digits in a home game. So you would TV execs would think that they're Texas Tech is likely to hold serve. So we'll see. But I think this is a positive. I think this is a big time positive. I didn't hate it. I'll tell you that, and it has nothing to do with, but may have something to do with, I won't get home at like 6 a.m. Because I'll tell you right now, if you say, hey man, you're going to win, but you're going to get home at 6 a.m, sign me up every day of the week and twice on Sunday, and it would have been on Sunday that I would have gotten home. But the fact that you catch them maybe when it's just not as peak. Because let's be honest, Kansas, you need to be worried about Jalen Daniels. You need to be worried about Lance Leipold. It's the same kind of dynamic that you're worried about Houston. But Kansas could be walking into a Hornets nest this weekend.
Buzz, baby, let's go. We're ready. I think the Red Raiders will answer the call. Tough over the years to take direction and get real organized in this way. But I think maybe we're ready. This is the weekend. We get organized. We get loud. We are jamming at the Okay, I don't want to put too much before it. Yeah. Let's just show up first and everybody get into the building on time. Yeah. How about that? Ready to roll. All right, Chris. Appreciate your time as always, my man. The insight and perspective as well. And looking forward to the next one. So we'll see you then.
Yeah, sounds good, man. Yeah, and try. I'm going to try not to take it personal. I know you aren't either, Cowan, but we all got called out a bit, so we will all try to do our part. Coach, we got you, man. And I think all 60,000+ they've got you too. So message was heard, message was sent, message was regurgitated here and sent back out. And so we'll do our part, and I know that these guys will be ready. So yeah, here we go.
That's regurgitation, Holmes. Thank you for joining us wherever you may be, and get subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you never miss an episode. Thanks to the Everydayers for always being out there, and of course the Matador Mob. Get our show notes and find a link to a free 14-day trial. If you're interested in joining that crew, it's your direct line to Chris and myself with one-on-one texts and straight to your phone. For Chris, I'm Casey. Thanks as always for the time. We hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.